What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm going to be doing a P.U.N.K Psy-Frame deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Manny. And this deck is an extremely fun deck to play with just how well these two archetypes work together. With your P.U.N.K monsters being able to make some insane boards and your Psy-Frame monsters being able to stun your opponent. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. And definitely give Manny some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Psy-Frame Driver. This card is an extremely important 2-of in the deck to be able to resolve any of your Psy-Frame gear monsters, because you have to be able to special summon this card from your hand, deck, or graveyard to resolve any of their effects. So this card is an extremely important card in the deck to be able to play as a 2-of. We then play 3 copies of Psy-Frame Gear Gamma. Gamma is one of the most powerful of all of these Psy-Frame gears, and is an extremely important 3 in this deck. This card can actually negate monster effects, which is super cool, while putting this card and a copy of Driver on your side of the field, to help you synchro summon into some extremely powerful cards. This card is an extremely powerful 3-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Psy-Frame Gear Delta. Delta is really good because this card actually negates spell effects, which is super good in this build. We then play 3 copies of Psy-Frame Gear Alpha. Alpha is an extremely powerful card in this deck, because this card is actually the searcher of the deck, because when your opponent normally special summons a monster, you actually have the ability to special summon this card from your hand and a copy of Driver from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and then you actually get the ability to search a Psy-Frame card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a really powerful effect, so we can search out some really awesome cards in this particular build, like any one of our Psy-Frame gears off this effect. The only downside to any of your Psy-Frame gears is you have to control no monster when you activate their effects, but we have some really easy ways around that with our copies of Lambda. We then play a single copy of Beta. Beta is a great 1-of in the deck to help you from protection from attacking. This card actually ends the battle phase, which is just such a powerful effect, and destroys the attacking monster, which is just a really good effect. And finally, we play a single copy of Epsilon. Epsilon's a great 1-of in this particular build, because this card can actually negate trap effects, which is a super good effect. I love that about this card, because this card can help you stop cards like Evenly Matched. We then play, for the P.U.N.K monsters, we're going to be playing 3 copies of P.U.N.K Xiamen. Xiamen is a definite 3-of in this build, one of the most powerful cards in the entire build, and our main card we're actually summoning off of E-Telly. This card has the ability to pay 600 life points to add a P.U.N.K monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a really awesome effect to get cards like Foxy Tune from our deck to our hand. We then play 2 copies of Shirakusai. Shirakusai is a definite 2-of in the build, and this card is a walking polymerization for your P.U.N.K monsters, which is a really good effect during your turn, and during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can pay 600 life points to immediately as effect resolves, synchro summon 1 P.U.N.K synchro monster using monsters you control as material, which is a pretty good effect. We then play just a single copy of Wagon. Wagon is just a good 1-of in this particular build that searches our P.U.N.K spells by paying 600 life points. We then play a single copy of Madam Spider. Madam Spider searches our traps by paying 600 life points, which is a really good effect to just pay 600 life points and search out some really powerful P.U.N.K trap cards like Dangerous Gaboo or Surprise, which is super good in this build. We then play 2 copies of Deer Note. Deer Note is very good in this deck, but you only really need 2 copies of Deer Note in this build. It has the ability to reveal 1 other P.U.N.K monster in your hand to be able to special summon either the revealed monster or this card and send the other to the graveyard, which is a really good effect to just get a monster on your side of the field. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 P.U.N.K monster in your graveyard, except a level 5 P.U.N.K monster, meaning this card, and special summon it. But you can't special summon out P.U.N.K Deer Note for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal because you're basically just using this card like Monster Reborn. We then play 2 copies of Foxy-Tune. Foxy-Tune is an extremely powerful 2-of in this deck, and it has a really insane effect that you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and one other card from your hand, and then have the ability that if you do, special summon 1 punk monster from your deck, except a level 8 monster, which is a great effect to be able to summon out some extremely powerful cards depending on what you already have on the field, like your copies of Deer Note or your copy of Z-Almond. We then play 2 copies of Ogre Dance. Ogre Dance is really good as a 2 in the deck and is basically the searcher for your punk engine because it has the ability that you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to add a punk monster from your deck to your hand, except a level 8 monster, which can get you to the exact punk card that you need to start your plays. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is an extremely powerful 1-of in this deck to be able to search out our field spells. We then play 2 copies of Punk Jam Extreme Session. This card is insane at helping you draw cards because once per turn, you can banish 1 punk monster from your graveyard and then special summon out a punk monster from your hand. And if a psychic monster you control paid life points to activate its effect, you can draw a card. And you can only use the effect of this card twice per turn, giving you a draw 2, which is insanely good. This card is almost like Pot of Greed, which is super good. We then play 3 copies of Psy-Frame Circuit. Psy-Frame Circuit is really good in this deck as a 3-of, and is the main field spell that we want to leave on the field, especially after we've got our Jam Extreme Session. Basically got the effect of it to draw our 2 cards. You always want to end with this card and have this card on the field during your opponent's turn, because if a Psy-Frame monster is special summoned to your side of the field, except during the damage step, you can immediately as effect resolves, synchro summon 1 synchro monster using only Psy-Frame monsters that you control, which is really good to be able to make cards like Omega or your other Psy-Frame synchro monster to get them off the field so you can use your Psy-Frame gear monsters effects again, which is just really awesome. And if a Psy-Frame monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you can discard a Psy-Frame monster, and your battling monster gains attack equal to discarding monster's attack until the end of the turn, which can be a little bit of a boost. We then finally play 3 copies of E-Telly for the spells. E-Telly is just really good because we're playing pretty much all psychics in this deck, so this card is really good to be able to bring out the exact monster you need onto your side of the field when you need it. Usually you're summoning out Z-Almond to your side of the field extremely quickly with this card, so you can search out a copy of Foxy-Tune or a copy of Deer Note to get your plays really rolling in this deck. This card is extremely good. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Dangerous Gaboo. This card is really good as a 1-of in the deck. It lets you target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. Then if you control a punk monster, you gain life points equal to target monster's original attack, which can help you a lot in the game. This card is really good in the deck. We then play a single copy of Punk Surprise. Punk Surprise is really good in this deck as well as a 1-of. It is searchable off of Madam Spider, and unless you target a set card your opponent controls, or if you control a punk monster, target 1 face-up card your opponent controls instead and destroy it, which is a pretty good effect to just be able to pop a card on the field. We then finally play 3 copies of Metaverse. Metaverse is extremely important in this deck to be able to get to your Psy-Frame field spell so you can start synchro summoning immediately after you summon out a Psy-Frame card to your side of the field. I love this card in the deck, and I love that Metaverse is at 3. This card is so powerful in the deck, letting you take a field spell from your deck and either adding it to your hand or immediately activating it is just super good for this build to be able to just get your copy of your Psy-Frame circuit immediately on the field. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be starting off with Amazing Dragon, which we're playing as a 2-of in this build. I absolutely love this card. It's one of my favorite cards in the game for the artwork alone, and one of the cards that I actually really wanted to collect as a collector's rare. I love this card as a collector's rare. It looks absolutely stunning, and it's just such a powerful card in the deck because it can get you multiple balances on the field, which is just such a powerful effect. I love this card. It's really easy to make, especially during your opponent's turn with Shirakusai's effect, and getting you multiple bounces. Because if this card is Synchro Summon, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 psychic monsters with different names you control and in your graveyard and return them to the hand. And it also has the ability that you can target a P.U.N.K monster in your graveyard except another copy of this card and special summon it. And you can only use one effect of this card per turn and only once that turn. We then play a single copy of Jam Dragon Drive. Jam Dragon Drive is a good one-of in this particular deck and helps you get certain cards to your side of the field. And it's just super good in this particular build. You see this card is special summoned by either the effect of a P.U.N.K card or its Synchro Summon. You can pay 600 life points to take one level 3 psychic monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the grave, which is a really good effect to be able to get the exact one you need to your hand. And it also has the ability, if your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your P.U.N.K card's effect activation, when this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card, which is a really insane effect that you can just bring back this level 8 to your side of the field to help you synchro climb. We then play a single copy of Psychic and Punisher. Psychic and Punisher is a definite one-up in this build because this card just gets absolutely massive. We pay a lot of life points on this deck with the P.U.N.K engine, and this card just helps you close out games. We then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is a definite one-of in this particular build because it just is a great walking negate and it's super powerful. We then play a single copy of Psy-Frame Lord Omega. Omega is just the main boss monster for your Psy-Frame package, and this card can easily put itself off the field to get a card out of your opponent's hand, which is really good because it is a quick effect to banish a card from your opponent's hand, which will then let you activate another Psy-Frame monster's effect in your hand, which is just really good. We then play a single copy of Excel's Synchro Stardust Dragon. This card is great in the deck to help you make Baron de Fleur, but also be able to put a copy of Stardust Dragon on your side of the field, because when this card is Synchro Summon, you actually get to special summon out a level 2 tuner from the graveyard, and we have plenty of those in our Psy-Frame package, including Gamma, which is really good to be able to make Baron de Fleur, and it's also really good to be able to put Stardust Dragon on your field if you know your opponent's playing cards like Dark Hole or Regeki or even Lightning Storm. You can protect them with your copies of Stardust, which is really nice. We then play a single copy of Satellite Warrior. Satellite Warrior is great in this deck because you can actually make this during your opponent's turn, which is really good in this particular deck to be able to make this card during your opponent's turn and it'll pop multiple cards on the field, which is just super good in this deck. I love this card in this particular build. It's just really an awesome card. We then play a single copy of F.A. Dawn Dragster. Dawn Dragster is great in this deck as a one-of to have as a spell trap negate. We then play a single copy of Zeta. Zeta is really good in this deck as well because it has a great effect that once per turn during either player's turn, you can target one special summon monster that your opponent controls in face of attack position and banish both that monster and this card from the field, but return them to the during the next standby phase, which is a great effect to just get them both off the field so you can activate another Psy-Frame monster's effect. I love that about this card. We then play a single copy of Ancient Fairy Dragon. Ancient Fairy Dragon is really good because we play multiple field spells in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Rising Carp. Rising Carp is really good in this deck. I love this card. It helps you get multiple monsters on the field because you can tribute this fusion summon card and then special summon up to 2 P.U.N.K monsters with different names from each other from your hand or deck, except a level 8 monster in defense position, which is just a really good effect to be able to use with this card to get the exact monsters you want on the field so you can synchro climb into some really powerful cards. I love that about this card and it helps so much in this build. It's easy to make with your copy of Shirakusai and it's just an awesome card overall. We then play finally a single copy of Lambda. Lambda is the main card that you're going to put on the field first usually in this deck if you have multiple Psy-Frame cards in your hand, because this card helps you by having the ability to basically let you activate your Psy-Frame monsters while you control a monster, which is just a really cool effect for this card to have. And I love that about this card, that it basically turns off that restriction on your Psy-Frame gears that you can't control a monster when you activate their effect, and it turns that off so you can actually use them. I love that about this card and it makes it super easy to play this deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a P.U.N.K Psy-Frame deck, you should definitely give the deck a try. It has some really amazing synergy in this particular build, especially since they're both psychic decks, which is just really cool to mix these 2 decks together to make this really awesome build. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.